When you think of a furry convention, you might imagine a space full of colorful costumes, creativity, and community. When it comes to allegations, the response and claims must have a level of maturity and respect to even have some validity. But once you start shooting shots, expect to be shot back.
Novely, don't you ever disappoint me.
Yeah, so Twitter popped off. My opinion was quite polarizing, and it was honestly half baked. So let's put this opinion back into the oven and see what monstrosity comes out of it. Hi, my name is NovelyJPG, and the reason you're seeing this in the real world is not because this is a serious video, like, oh my god, Novely got exposed or whatever. No, it's just that right now at 3 a.m. I had this amazing idea, my manic state, my mania, okay? And I was like, this would be such a good video format to do it in, honestly. Anyways, to get back on track, I made a video like 11 months ago, almost a year ago. Isn't that crazy? And to me, this video has a good premise. I mean, it was a throwaway. Whatever the first idea that came to mind, I said it. So it's a little undeveloped in its concept, like how I'm mentally undeveloped. And I only reposted the intro to Twitter because I was like, yeah, some people should hear this. And I got crucified immediately, but I found it to be very intriguing, very interesting. Some people would be super stressed out, and even some people would probably resort to like mocking people, like, your opinion is wrong, lol. But that's not me, gang. I wanted to get into that discussion since it was theming, and I am exhilarated for the first time in a long time to make a video. It puts a smile on my face to see reactions, both positive and negative, ignorant and educated, and how the reception differed on platforms to ultimately give out my conclusion of a statement. If you hate the furry fandom, then leave. And yeah, that statement can anger a lot of people because it's too broad of a statement to claim, and like a friend of mine Shrimply said, Twitter is just added again. Now, I'm not blaming everything on Twitter culture, okay? But Twitter is going to be a focal point as we delve deeper. And let's put this in big, bold letters. My opinion is just that. It's an opinion. Do not take my opinion as gospel or that this is definitive, this is standard, but just my thoughts on this statement. But before we delve deep, huge shout out to these beautiful YouTube members, the Carolean, Lorik, Avro the Blue Jay, and our newest member, Simple Nix. Look, come here. This is directly to you, Simple Nix. I wanted to stop the YouTube shoutouts and my YouTube memberships last video because I was like, I don't think I can be a consistent uploader to do those things. And then I saw you pay up in my last video, and I felt super bad if I just suddenly took that all away. So now we're here. For just $1, guys, you too can get access to my videos before release. Like $1. How do you have hours of time to watch me and not $1? But then again, huge thank you to these YouTube members. Honestly, you guys are the reasons I keep going and keep me motivated to keep posting. But without further ado, let's get straight to the point. So back to my video 11 months ago. I think the quality was subpar for how I presented the topic, but I believe the idea was there. To summarize the video to me, essentially, the video was, if you hate the furry fandom, consider leaving instead of complaining, as oftentimes negativity overshadows enjoyment, and there really are positive aspects to explore in the fandom, whether that's friends, conventions, and anything that brings you joy within the fandom. Like, if you dislike the fandom in its current state, then I really think leaving is a healthier option than constantly subjecting yourself to negativity and commenting on that negativity on the daily. And I think my YouTube replies have good talking points. Some I enjoyed reading, but also interesting talking points, and critiques of concerns that are reasonable and need me to clarify my stance, and some that are willing to expand on the topic by using other talking points. It's very exciting to me because we're having that conversation. With a lot of things happening this year, especially September, check out this video if you want to know more about the drama in September by this commentary YouTuber. I mean, to even consider him a commentary YouTuber is disrespectful. This guy is legitimately on a whole nother ballpark, a whole nother game he's playing that he frankly scares me, okay? He is my boogeyman. But enough glazing. With this recent feeling of negativity and critiques of what the furry fandom has become, I reposted the intro of this video because I wanted to see how reactions change from then and now. And oh boy, did it change. But I found it very intriguing, okay? From the reactions that I got. Some positive, some negative, and some stuff that brings nothing to the conversation. I love seeing it all. It gave me inspiration to make this video and of course expand on this idea. If you hate the furry fandom, then leave. Well, that's too broad of a statement from what I've learned. It does generalize the people that have actual criticism for the fandom into this box of you're just always complaining. And that's wrong. And a point Scummelbones brings up, sorry if I butcher that name, but they say if it came to someone hating the fandom because they received harassment from a zoophile, then saying, well then just leave, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think people need to be more open about problems instead of just leaving whatever thing they're associated with. And I like the point they're bringing up. People can hate this fandom because of unjustified harassment they get. So to tell these people to just leave when they are experiencing this doesn't really help, especially when it's an issue they're bringing to light. But because my statement didn't clarify how important it is to address these issues, people really loved to put words into my mouth. And yes, we need to advocate about these harmful behaviors and awful individuals and reject those ideals and actions to push for a more positive environment. But I guess my point isn't to just leave the fandom if you hate the fandom like my statement says, but it's more directed towards the people that this comment pretty much summed it up to. And I do think leaving is a healthier option than just constantly subjecting yourself to actively criticizing these harmful people to the point where it warps your perception that this is the furry fandom status quo. And that all these problems have a platform and it's normal in the fandom and we should just get used to it type of mindset. This statement is really directed to the people that refuse to advocate, refuse to push for that change, and just do nothing but talk about how the fandom is ruined. Because it's not. I highly encourage looking at Taboo Meek Rat. Sorry if I butchered that name, dude. Let me know if I said it right. But actually watching his videos, that to me restores the faith I have in the fandom. Like I said earlier, if your only thing is that the fandom is too negative, too many bad apples, not enough good that is coming from the fandom, then you're really looking at the wrong place. But to even advocate and push for change in itself within the fandom, to me, is also this gray area. Because to me, it's going to corner the fandom into what is normal. What should be the ideals and beliefs in the fandom. And for a fandom that's all about freedom of expression, would this new normal be a Puritan normal? Where anything not safe for work is shunned out, and how are we going to treat others if they do not conform to this normal? Some people think mersuits is a bane to our existence, others see no issue. How do we advocate for change in which it becomes the new normal that everyone is okay with? Truthfully, we can. And with how tied the LGBTQ+ community is with the fandom, I do question if we're going to see this horizontal hostility once we advocate for change, like how some people in the LGBTQ+ community wanted to remove the T because they're lesser human beings, when in reality they're all fighting for the same thing, equal rights and to live in peace. And I guess the real question is, how do we advocate for change in this fandom that can become this melting pot of experiences that conforms to the fandom's core message of being a furry is whatever you want it to be? How do we uphold that when we create the new normal? If that makes sense. Because you have the obvious response of we need to kick out zoophiles, and that's true, but what about mersuits, adult spaces and conventions, and what the community should and shouldn't do? That's a bit tricky because some people really want a more not safe for work experience in the fandom, and others don't want to deal with anything not safe for work related at all, especially in conventions. What then? Again, there has to be this lengthy discussion of what is this new normal that we should advocate for going to look like. And it brings me to this point of we need to have separation of furry the hobby and furry the community. we see people talk about how furry is just a hobby and then talk about the furry fandom and the community. I mean, gardeners have a community. We don't see a gardening fandom, and certainly we don't see gardening conventions where everyone is dressed around as strawberries or their fruit sonas, which that would actually be a killer idea. I'm not gonna lie. Gardeners, come on, why isn't this a thing? But yeah, I really do want to explore the theme of hobby does not always equate to community, and you can be a furry but not associate with the community and what the community is dealing with. But that doesn't mean, oh, everyone has to close their eyes on the bad thing that's going on in the furry fandom on the daily. No, it's a case by case basis on what brings you joy. Because what is better for your mental health, and ultimately what is going to bring you joy, what is going to bring you enjoyment of your hobby at the end of the day. Like, do you interact with the community, or do you want to leave the community and only interact with the community with how you want to interact with it? If that makes sense. I know I said interact a lot, but I don't want to dabble too long because people find a way to spin this into the narrative of why should good people be forced to leave. And I'm not really forcing people. And I don't believe this statement should force anyone out for that matter. When you're hit with the feeling, I hate this fandom, I want to leave, it is still ultimately up to you if you want to leave this fandom or not. Only you have that privilege, and only you have that power to decide for yourself what's healthy and what's not. Because what is healthy for you? And how much are you willing to put up with in aiding and getting rid of these bad apples? Or how much of that do you want to avoid for a better experience for you? Not for the fandom's overall state, but to you personally. I don't want to ask people to go on this big crusade of we need to eliminate every bad apple on here, but I do want people to go on a journey of what really brings them enjoyment here and what they subject themselves to. There's commentators in the furry fandom. I am one of them. We do a good job sometimes on calling out others, so you don't have to. So why voice your opinion or get involved in these callouts? Are you the one to say zoophiles will never be accepted just for validation, or are you saying that because you actively done steps to remove zoophilia from the fandom? But does that really warp your perception on the fandom is just littered with this filth, why it's such an issue, and why these people don't have a place within the fandom? I don't know if that made sense, but I hope you know the theme of what I'm trying to go for. Because this is a conversation I feel won't have great results because people are quick to dismiss it, favor the idea, but not expand on it, and come across as let's have an argument, but not discussion. Because what good is communication without comprehension? It's why I can't get mad I got quote tweeted a lot, because yes, Twitter is a very contentious place, okay? And there's always someone ready to throw hands with me. But how can I blame the wind if I open the window? And we get this idea that the fandom needs to be appealing. But to who? The general public or ourselves? I get the argument that we need to have a good reputation to the public, because how else are furry conventions supposed to operate without that cooperation of the event space and hotels if ultimately furries and conventions don't have a good reputation behind them? But also, why do we care about what Drama Alert or what these big news accounts post about furries and have their haters go after us? Because we get this idea of keep furry weird, and that contradicts the notion of having something that is appealing and at the end of the day marketable to corporations and the general public. How do we keep furries weird enough but also appealing enough? Truthfully, I don't think we can't. That's always going to be the fandom's image. There's always going to be something wrong with us. So why not keep furry weird? And let me just add this here before I move on, because I did find this funny, and I do have to ask, how does leaving a community the same as leaving an entire nation? How does one nation's politic and current state and troubles with leaving that country differ from leaving a community online? How do these statements compare? What I really like to see is conversation at the end of the day. Like, there's someone who's replied to me that is 40 plus years into this fandom. Yeah, 40 plus years. Like, that blows my brain because they've been in this fandom longer than my balls have dropped. And that's so interesting to me. Not balls dropping, more specifically fat sweaty balls dropping on my face, but more specifically of the fact that there's people who've been in this fandom for a lot longer than I have. Like, I want to hear their experiences. What led them to the fandom? What changed socially for the fandom for them? And how different was it from when they started till now? That to me is going to give such interesting perspectives that I want to hear about it. Because I've been in this fandom for 5 years. I haven't been in here for too long. So I want to hear these perspectives from these veterans, essentially. From these old geezers, and I mean that respectfully, these old geezers that could provide such amount of wisdom. But to really rephrase my statement, cause no statement will ever be good enough, no video will ever fully have people on my side, but let's just talk about it. If you hate the furry fandom, that's okay. Interact with what makes you happy. Don't blatantly ignore these ongoing issues and call out these issues when they personally affect you and you feel personally compelled to advocate for and push for the change that you want to see with these issues. Do what's right for you, whether that's distancing yourself from a fandom or getting close to it, leaving a social media platform or not. Do what's right for you. If you hate the furry fandom, then leave. And interact with it in a way that doesn't conform to anyone else's interactions, but with your interaction, how you will find your enjoyment with the fandom. Let me know if you agree with that or not. And should I tackle more videos in this style in the real world? Should I not be a 4-eye freak and actually remove my glasses and be blind when I do these videos? I want to hear about it. Keep life lovely. And this is Novely, logging off. You actually want to know what's cool as hell though? Look at this. I cuddle with this at night every day where I go to sleep. This guy is pink comfort for me.